The World Cup is coming up in a couple of days' time. I know it's weird having a World Cup in November. We've had all that argument before about how it's a weird time of year and everything. I'm having a World Cup in the winter, while Australians having a World Cup in the summer for the first time in probably forever because of how the Earth's rotating and physics and Brian Cox and all that. So I'm going to be covering the World Cup on From the Anvil. That's the basic thing I wanted to say before I went off on a tangent. I am going to be covering two different countries. The first country is, of course, my birth country of England, the country that I lived in for the first 17 years of my life. And the second country I'm covering is Canada. For those who are new to my channel, you might be wondering, well, why is James choosing to cover Canada? And well, I'll tell you the reason why. My subscribers already know, the people who watch and comment on my videos, you already know this anyway, so you can discard this little bit of information. But I've been living in Canada for the past 8 years, and I recently obtained my Canadian citizenship. I actually got it about 4 months ago and got my Canadian passport. So I now am legally Canadian. I have the same rights, more or less, as a natural-born Canadian citizen. And there's a reason why the whole of Canada is buzzing for this World Cup, and the reason why football is becoming a predominant sport in this part of North America. I wanted to talk about the latter to begin with. In 2026, the United States, Mexico and Canada will all be co-hosting the World Cup. And Canada's football pyramid has certainly grown over the last 10 years. It initially started out with the women's team actually having success at the national stage. Players such as Christine Sinclair inspired a generation of girls to play soccer. And even more recently, players such as Adriana Leon, Janine Becky, and Jordan Hutima have all helped to grow the sport in Canada. I think that it's certainly a popular sport amongst children. It's a sport that's starting to give Canada a bit more of a foot in the door in the sporting world. You may know Canada is very famous for winning hella gold medals in Olympic sports in the winter. In the Winter Olympics, it tends to get gold in hockey, curling, skiing. And on a side note, it's now got some of the world's best tennis players. And some of the world's greatest hockey players, of course, came from Canada. So why is Canadian football growing, you might ask? Well, it's because of the rise of a few players playing in certain leagues. I think Alphonso Davies is one player who's definitely helped to promote it on the large scale. He's considered one of the best young players in the world. He's playing for Bayern Munich, one of the world's and Europe's biggest giants. And he also got quite a big success story. Having fled Africa as a child with his family and becoming a refugee, he settled in Edmonton, Alberta. And he grew up in the city and still pays close attention to what's going on there. He's attended Edmonton Oilers games, and one of my friends actually met him in Vancouver, which was really cool. Because he's from the city where I currently live, everyone's talking about him in Edmonton. But the whole World Cup squad as well is certainly being well represented. A lot of these players are from Ontario, but others are from other parts of Canada. Some weren't even born in Canada. Players such as Jonathan David were not. Alphonso Davies was not. I'll go through the full roster, well, squad, as I say in British English, and I'll give my thoughts on it. So here's Canada's team. Goalkeepers are Milan Borjan, James Patemis and Dane Sinclair. Defenders are Sam Adekube, Derek Cornelius, Alistair Johnston, Richie Laira, Kamal Miller, Stephen Vittoria, Joel Waterman. Midfielders, Stephen Estaquio, Liam Fraser, Atiba Hutchison, Marth Anthony Kay, Ishmael Kone, Jonathan Osorio, Samuel Piet, David Witherspoon. Forwards are Tejon Buchanan, Lucas Cavallini, sorry, couldn't get that on my tongue, Jonathan David, Alphonso Davies, Junior Hoylett, you may remember him playing for Cardiff, Sile Larin, Liam Miller, Ike Ugbo. Sile Larin is Canada's all-time top scorer in the international stage. He scored 25 goals, and he was at Besiktas last season. The other player who is now currently playing for Besiktas is Atiba Hutchison. Everyone in Turkey knows about Hutchison. Everyone at Besiktas knows about him. Canadian football legend. In the past, Canada had some footballers that you may remember, players such as Ian Hume. Ian Hume was remembered for having a scar on his head. He was actually born in Scotland, but he moved to Canada when he was a kid and spoke with a half Scottish, half English accent. His favourite sporting hero was Wayne Gretzky out of football. Scott Arfield was an interesting one because he did represent Canada as well. Scott Arfield represented Canada because although he was born in the UK, his father was born in Toronto. And that made him eligible to play for Canada. He hasn't been called up to this World Cup though. The whole squad itself is actually very diverse and quite versatile. The players I would suggest to watch out for, aside from Davies, are Sile Larin, because I raved about him on videos on my channel. Jonathan David, who's been linked with West Ham before, and apparently had a £50 million price tag on him. Also, I recommend players such as Kamal Miller, who's playing for CF Montreal, and Joel Waterman, who's playing for Montreal. It's Montreal, but in French, for those who don't know. But also players that are playing Europe, such as Buchanan, who's playing for Club Brugge in Belgium, and Estaquio, who's playing for Porto in Portugal. The head coach of Canada's soccer team is John Herdman, who's actually from County Durham, and he used to be a coach at Sunderland's Youth Academy. He coached women's football for many years. He coached the New Zealand women's team from 2006 till 2011 and was in charge of the Canada women's team from 2011 to 2018. With the Canada's women's team, he won a bronze medal at the Summer Olympics in 2012 and 2016 and won the Pan American Games in 2011. He now makes Canada his full-time home. In January 2018, he was promoted to the head coach of the men's team. He's helped Canada to rise up the FIFA rankings. And under him, Canada's qualified for its first World Cup in 36 years. The last time Canada qualified for the World Cup was in 1986. A bad year to be an England fan because of Diego Maradona's hand of God. Canada lost all of its group stage games at the tournament, which was held in Mexico. Canada won a gold medal in the 1904 Summer Olympics, and it has done well at the Summer Olympic stage with its football team. But not so much over the last few years. It's not been a country you think about with football. Like I say, there's been no one really on the world stage, I think, up until Alphonso Davies, that caught anyone's attention. Maybe not all over the world. I don't think. Canada has played in the CONCACAF before, and it's had an okay record then. I think the most important achievement for this team was qualifying in March earlier this year, beating Jamaica 4-0. And the whole country was going crazy for that. Really it was. In fact, this year alone, in fixtures, Canada's only lost 4 times. Those are to Uruguay, Honduras, Costa Rica and Panama. Big highlight from last year, beating Mexico in Edmonton. I wish I could have gone to the game, but I was working and I couldn't. And I was so gutted. I wanted to get tickets for that as well. But overall, to summarise, I think Canada could be an underdog team, even with its tough group. With facing Belgium and teams with a lot of world-class players. It's got to face Belgium, Morocco and Croatia. Nayef Aguirre and Nikola Vlasic will be facing Canada. Kevin De Bruyne, Youri Tielemans, Hazard, Courtois will be facing Canada. Canada's playing on November the 23rd, November the 27th and December the 1st. I shall definitely be watching it. In fact, the bars here are opening up as early as 6 a.m. when the early kickoffs are on to show them. That's 8 a.m. my mountain time. What do I think Canada's chances are in this World Cup? It looks very scary because it does look like a bit of a group of death. But Canada shouldn't fear this because Canada's going in with a lot to gain from this competition and certainly a lot of experience. Once in a lifetime opportunity for these players. The whole of Canada's behind them. The whole nation of 35 million's behind them. Across all the provinces and territories, we will be cheering them on. I will be. I'll tell you one thing now. North American fans can get rowdy. Just like the Americans, I guess the Canadians are, but except the Canadians are a lot more politer. Just saying. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to sub for more content. Take care, everybody. Have a happy World Cup, and I'll see you all soon.